There's a root sitting in your kitchen right now. You probably walked past it this morning. And researchers at Johns Hopkins found that when you combine it with one tiny black grain, your body's ability to absorb its protective compounds jumps by 2,000%. Not 2%, not 20, 2,000. And the thing is, most people who use this root get almost zero benefit from it. Almost none. Because they're missing that one small addition. One grain that changes everything. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I first came across this research, I didn't believe it. I thought, okay, another health fad, another miracle root. I've seen dozens of these. But then I started reading the actual clinical trials, not blog posts, not influencer opinions, the published peer-reviewed trials. And I realized I was wrong. I was very wrong. So no, I'm not going to just tell you what that root is and send you on your way. That would be the easy version, the version that doesn't actually help you. Instead, I'm going to walk you through 7 drinks, 7 specific combinations, each one backed by clinical research, and I'll show you how they work inside your blood vessels and the precise way to prepare them so they actually deliver results. But first, I need you to understand what you're actually fighting here, because most people have no idea what's happening inside their blood vessels right now. Picture your arteries like a garden hose. When you're young, that hose is wide open. Blood flows easily. Oxygen reaches every organ without resistance. But over the years, something starts happening. Your body encounters damaged cholesterol, specifically oxidized LDL, and it triggers an immune response inside the artery wall. White blood cells rush in. They gobble up the damaged cholesterol and turn into something called foam cells. Those foam cells pile up, layer after layer, year after year. And gradually, a thick, waxy deposit forms. That garden hose starts narrowing. Blood pressure rises because the same volume of blood has to squeeze through a smaller opening. Your heart works harder. Your organs get less oxygen. And here's the part that really matters. This process has no symptoms. None. You feel perfectly fine while your arteries are slowly closing. That's what makes it so dangerous. By the time you feel something, the damage has been building for a decade or more. I know this firsthand, by the way. My father dealt with high blood pressure for years, and every time I asked him about it, he'd say the same thing. I feel fine. That stuck with me, because feeling fine doesn't mean things are fine. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting, because your body isn't helpless in this fight, not even close. And the first drink on this list might be the most powerful natural tool researchers have found for supporting arterial health. Let me show you why. Drink number 1, turmeric and black pepper tonic. This is the one featured on the thumbnail, and there's a reason I put it first. Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin. And what makes curcumin interesting to researchers is how it interacts with inflammatory pathways inside your blood vessels. It blocks pathways called NF-κB and MAPK, which, in simple terms, are like alarm systems that keep your body in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. Curcumin helps turn those alarms down. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Nutrients in 2024 took 227 patients with type 2 diabetes, a group at very high risk for arterial disease. They gave them curcumin over 12 months and tracked what happened. What they found was encouraging. Arterial stiffness, measured by something called pulse wave velocity, improved significantly. Inflammatory markers like TNF-alpha and C-reactive protein dropped, and their overall cardiovascular risk classification actually improved. But here's the thing nobody tells you about turmeric. And this is the part that honestly floored me when I first learned it. Curcumin, on its own, has almost zero bioavailability. Your liver destroys it before it ever reaches your bloodstream. You could drink turmeric water every morning for a year and barely absorb any of it. This is the mistake millions of people are making right now. They're drinking golden milk, adding turmeric to smoothies, feeling great about it, and getting almost nothing from it. The fix is absurdly simple: black pepper. One compound in black pepper, called piperine, blocks the liver enzyme that breaks down curcumin. It increases absorption by 2,000%. That's a 20-fold increase. The ratio that works best in studies is roughly 100 to 1. For every teaspoon of turmeric, just a small pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Stir it into warm water first thing in the morning. That's the tonic. Without the pepper, you're essentially wasting your turmeric. I actually tried this myself. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I felt like a superhero after 1 cup. I didn't. But after about 2 weeks of doing it consistently, I noticed my energy in the afternoon was more stable, less of that 3 o'clock crash. Could be placebo. Maybe. But the clinical data suggests something real is happening. Now, drink number 2 surprised me when I first dug into the research, because I always thought of ginger as something you drink when you have an upset stomach. Turns out it's capable of a lot more than that. Drink number 2, ginger root tea. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols, and they do something fascinating to your blood vessels. In one preclinical study, ginger extract given at a specific dose for 75 days showed what appeared to be a significant reduction in arterial plaque in animal models. Now, I want to be careful here because animal studies don't always translate directly to humans. But the results were interesting enough that it led to more human research. In human trials, 3 grams of ginger powder daily was associated with meaningful improvements in cholesterol, triglycerides, and LDL, while HDL, the protective kind, went up. And here's the mechanism that caught my attention. Ginger appears to relax the smooth muscle in your artery walls, which helps blood vessels open wider and allows better blood flow. The preparation is simple. Take a thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger, slice it thin, let it steep in boiling water for 10 minutes. Drink it warm. You can add a squeeze of lemon if you like. You can safely have this 2 to 3 times a day. Up to 4 grams daily has been confirmed safe in clinical settings. All right, drink number 3. This one has the longest track record in clinical research. And the data from one particular study really got my attention. Drink number 3, garlic and lemon water. There was a 4-year randomized controlled trial published in the journal Atherosclerosis. 152 patients. Real people with measurable plaque buildup in their carotid and femoral arteries. They monitored them with ultrasound over 48 months. The garlic group showed a 5 to 18% reduction in the rate of plaque accumulation compared to placebo. And in some cases, the researchers observed what appeared to be actual plaque regression. Not just slowing. Reversal. Their exact words were that garlic may have a curative role in arteriosclerosis therapy. And in a separate study at UCLA, aged garlic extract slowed total coronary plaque accumulation by 80% and showed regression in low attenuation plaque, which is the soft, unstable kind that ruptures and causes heart attacks. Here's how to use it. Crush 1 to 2 fresh garlic cloves and let them sit for 10 minutes. I know, this sounds tedious, but this activates the allicin, which is the compound doing the real work. Skip this step and you're getting a fraction of the benefit. Then squeeze half a lemon into warm water, add the crushed garlic, and drink it on an empty stomach. Fair warning, your breath will not be great after this. That's the price you pay. Now, before we move to drink number 4, let me just pause here for a second, because I want to be straight with you about something. Everything I'm sharing today comes from published research, studies I've read and verified. But none of this is medical advice. I'm not your doctor. I don't know your specific medications, your specific conditions, your specific body. What I'm trying to do is give you information, good information, so you can walk into your next doctor's appointment and have a better conversation. Ask better questions. Be your own best advocate. That's the goal here. Okay? Okay. Let's keep going. Drink number 4, apple cider vinegar and warm water. A meta-analysis that looked at 25 clinical trials covering over 1,300 adults found that apple cider vinegar was associated with reductions in fasting blood glucose, total cholesterol, and LDL cholesterol. And here's the connection to your arteries. ACV appears to help protect LDL particles from oxidation. Remember those foam cells I mentioned earlier? They only form when LDL gets oxidized. So anything that helps prevent that oxidation step is potentially helpful for your arteries. 1 to 2 tablespoons in a full glass of warm water. Always dilute it. I cannot stress this enough. Undiluted vinegar will damage your tooth enamel and irritate your esophagus. A straw helps protect your teeth, and give it at least 8 weeks. That's the minimum time frame the studies used to see measurable changes in blood lipids. Okay, now we're entering bonus territory. These next 3 drinks are the ones most people have never heard of for arterial health. And honestly, when I researched the first one, I had to read the study twice because I couldn't believe what I was reading. Drink number 5, hibiscus tea. If you've been to North Africa or the Middle East, you know this as curcumin, that gorgeous, deep red tea. What you might not know is that a meta-analysis of 17 clinical trials found hibiscus tea was associated with blood pressure reductions that were comparable to some pharmaceutical ACE inhibitors. Comparable to medication. One comparison study found that 10 grams of hibiscus daily produced a similar blood pressure reduction to 50 milligrams of captopril, a commonly prescribed drug. And the effect was strongest in people over 50, which means this is particularly relevant if you're watching this channel. Steep 1.5 to 3 grams of dried hibiscus flowers in boiling water for 5 to 10 minutes. 2 to 3 cups daily. Give it at least 4 weeks. It tastes tart, almost like cranberry. Actually pretty pleasant. Drink number 6. This is where we tap into something called the nitric oxide pathway. And if you haven't heard about nitric oxide before, pay attention, because this changes how you think about blood flow. Drink number 6. Beetroot juice with lemon. Your arteries have a lining called the endothelium. That lining produces a molecule called nitric oxide, which tells your artery walls to relax and widen. As you get older, nitric oxide production naturally declines. Your arteries stiffen. Blood pressure creeps up. Beetroot is one of the richest natural sources of inorganic nitrate, which your body converts into nitric oxide. A meta-analysis showed beetroot juice was associated with meaningful blood pressure reduction and reduced arterial stiffness. A study on postmenopausal women found that just 1 week of daily consumption showed improvements in blood vessel function. Even patients with peripheral artery disease reported they could walk farther. About 70 to 150 milliliters of concentrated beetroot juice daily. Peak effects hit 2 to 3 hours after drinking. Add a squeeze of lemon. The vitamin C helps with nitrate absorption. One thing I should mention. Beetroot juice will turn your urine pink or red. The first time it happens, you'll think something is horribly wrong. It's not. It's just the beet pigment. I wish someone had warned me about that. Last drink. Number 7. And this one has arguably the broadest range of cardiovascular evidence I've found. Drink number 7. Cinnamon and honey, warm water. A systematic review that used the GRADE framework, which is considered the gold standard for evaluating evidence quality, looked at 49 separate studies on cinnamon. What they found was pretty comprehensive. Cinnamon supplementation was associated with reductions in total cholesterol, LDL, triglycerides, blood pressure, and CRP, which is a key marker of inflammation throughout your body. Now, here's a warning I really don't want you to skip. There are 2 types of cinnamon. Cassia cinnamon is the cheap kind you find everywhere. It contains high levels of a compound called curcumin, which can damage your liver with daily use. Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon, has virtually no curcumin. For daily consumption, Ceylon is the only safe choice. Please remember that. 1/2 to 1 teaspoon stirred into warm water with a spoonful of raw honey. The honey adds its own antioxidants and makes it enjoyable. 8 weeks minimum for cardiovascular benefits. Now, before you start any of these, the quality warning, because this is where people waste their money and then blame the remedy instead of the product. With turmeric, if it doesn't specify curcumin content on the label, you have no idea what you're getting. With garlic, allicin is destroyed by heat, so it must be raw and crushed. With apple cider vinegar, it must say raw, unfiltered, with the mother. The clear, filtered stuff has been stripped. With cinnamon, I'll say it again, Ceylon, not cassia. And with beetroot juice, get the concentrated kind, not the watered-down version mixed with apple juice. All right. I know some of you are thinking, 7 drinks? That's a lot. Who has time for that? And honestly, I don't blame you. I don't do all 7 every single day. Some days I manage 4. Some days it's just the turmeric tonic and the ginger tea because that's all I have energy for. And that's fine. Perfection isn't the point. Consistency is. But if you want a framework, here's how I think about it. Morning, empty stomach, garlic and lemon water first. Wait 20 minutes. Then the turmeric tonic. Mid-morning, brew the ginger tea and sip it between meals. This is also when beetroot juice works well, about 2 hours before any activity. Afternoon, hibiscus tea. 2 cups between lunch and dinner. Evening, the cinnamon and honey as a calming nighttime drink. And the apple cider vinegar, wherever it fits. Before your largest meal is a common choice because it can help blunt the glucose spike from eating. Start with 2 drinks. Add 1 each week. Let your body adjust. Listen to how you feel. Here's what I want to leave you with. Your arteries are not concrete. They're living tissue. They respond to what you put in your body. The research suggests that these compounds, curcumin, gingerols, allicin, acetic acid, anthocyanins, nitrate, cinnamaldehyde, they interact with real biological pathways. They help reduce oxidation. They help calm inflammation. They support the natural processes your body already uses to maintain vascular health. You don't need to do all 7. Start with 1. The turmeric and black pepper tonic is where I'd begin, because the research behind it is deep and the preparation takes 30 seconds. Add ginger after a week, then garlic. Build gradually. And I know some of this sounds almost too simple. A root in warm water, a seed in tea. But the simplicity is the point. These aren't synthetic chemicals designed in a lab. These are compounds humans have consumed for thousands of years. And peer-reviewed science is beginning to measure what traditional cultures have practiced for generations. Talk to your doctor. Bring these studies up. Ask questions. The best patients are informed patients. And the fact that you watched this far tells me you're already that kind of person. If this gave you something useful today, if you learned even one thing you didn't know, hit that like button. It costs you nothing, and it helps this reach other people who need to see it. Subscribe if you want more evidence-based health content broken down like this. No hype, no exaggeration, just the science, explained in a way that makes sense. Drop a comment and tell me which drink you're going to try first. I read every single one, and your answer might help somebody else who's watching right now and doesn't know where to start. Your arteries have been working for you your entire life without asking for anything in return. Maybe tonight is the night you finally give them something back. I'll see you in the next one.